Hey Cancer, welcome back. Welcome if you are new. This will be your weekly Cancer Sun, Moon, and Rising tarot reading. And I do consider all of these readings to be timeless. So whenever you're guided here, just trust that it is the right time for you. I pulled a rune for you, my fellow Cancerians. You got Raidho. And Redo speaks to progress, it speaks to movement, journeys, traveling, evolution. Okay, let's get some. We're going to start with the Black Moon Astrology cards for my Cancers. And so we'll do a current energy, a challenge, and advice. Current energy. Okay, Jupiter. Challenge for my Cancerians this week, please. Oop. We've got the solar eclipse. Oh, such a powerful energy for me, especially being that I had my spiritual awakening on the great solar eclipse, the Great American Eclipse, they called it, of 2017. And one more Cancers for this week, please. All right, we got your element out here, the water element, as advice. And on the bottom, we've got the 5th house, creativity. This card also wanted to come out. This card also came out for my Aries, and it also came out for my Geminis as well. So just know that there's some extra fire. Your desires may be kind of uplifted this week. You could really notice more of what you desire, or just kind of feel that fiery energy. Just be careful, because fire energy, while it can give us our desires and pleasant things, it's like, you know, a fire can provide warmth, but it can also destroy. Okay, so just keep that in mind. The first card that we're going to talk about is number 7, Jupiter. Now, 7 is a very analytical number, very logical reasoning, but it's also a very spiritual number. And this card corresponds to the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so Jupiter, expect doors to swing open. Jupiter was referred to as the King of Gods, because he's the largest of all the heavenly bodies in our solar system. Okay. So in the Roman pantheon, Jupiter was referred to as the King of Gods. And Jupiter corresponds to the Greek Zeus and the Norse god Odin. And because Jupiter was so vast and expansive, this planet opens the gates for better luck. Right? The earlier Greeks called the planet Jupiter Pantheon, which meant the brightest star. And because of Jupiter's immensity, it's one of the easiest planets to see with the naked eye. It's the ruler of Sagittarius, the centaur. Jupiter has the dual role of being half human and half beast. Okay, so let's see what else. Jupiter casts off more heat than it takes from the sun. And so it's a giant planet of generosity and joyfulness. In astrology, it's the great benefic, or the soother of hurts and bruises, the promises, the promiser of a period of good fortune, right? When hard luck is coming to an end. And similar to Saturn, Jupiter can represent the father and what you have inherited from your father. But when Jupiter enters your reading, especially as an overall position, definitely luck is on your side, fortune shines on you, okay? You're being given not only a gift, Cancer, but also a lift, if not divine help, okay? Blocks are being removed as you know, wield influence through your own positivity, your own goodwill. This is certainly an astrological lucky break, but you won't be able to kick back and rest on your laurels, right? Instead, you're gonna need to be prepared and required to, what you set in place, keep it positive and attention flowing in that direction. You have to continue to nurture the energies to the projects or the events that you've started, right? Otherwise they could fall into entropy or decay. When it comes to providence and fortune, there's always a payment due, some toil or sacrifice on your part. So just keep this in mind. You are on your way. Just don't neglect things or become too lax in your endeavors, which can be the traits of Jupiter as well, meaning the possibility of taking important matters for granted. Okay, because Jupiter can make you feel happy and complacent, you have to also watch out for like weight gain, and for other ways that you indulge yourself and others for that matter. It's important to keep a watchful eye, not just skim over the details in any matter, okay? Because Jupiter is strongly tied to the law and ideas of fairness. So you might find your opinions and convictions to be rather strong at the present time. So just try not to become too overbearing, because this attitude could sabotage what you've worked for. Okay, if you feel at the moment that you're in a dark period of time, and just be assured that blessings are on their way. Okay, doors are opening with generosity and in faith. It's time to walk through them. Jupiter gives a positive spin to any reading, so just keep this in mind. And then we have number 44, master number. 4s create stability, foundation, structure, security. And the 4 doubled breaks down to an 8, which is the connection of all things. Okay, and this is the card of revolution. And revolution is actually something that starts in individual hearts. Bill Viola said that. This card spells our change. Okay, and so change might be your obstacle this week. Eclipses, both solar and lunar, are the earliest forecasting tools used in astrology. Okay, and because through these kind of dramatic sky events, the ancients understood major transformations were about to happen. And since these eclipses, they look so dramatic, ancient people really feared them. Okay, and since during an eclipse the sun and the moon give the impression that they disappear, the ancients associated eclipses with serpents that they believed were devouring the lights in the sky. And from this, the ancients formed the idea of death and rebirth, which is what eclipses are all about. Right? In other words, when it comes to eclipses, something has to die for better things to be born. Okay, in the case of the solar eclipse, the effects are longer lasting. The solar eclipse occurs during the new moon, which, by the way, happy Halloween. If you are catching this video today, it's actually also a new moon in Scorpio today, which is actually my favorite moon that there is, because it always invokes your inner senses, your psychic gifts, clairvoyance. These type of things will be heightened at this time. So the solar eclipse happens during the new moon, when the sun and the moon are in opposition but perfectly aligned. Okay, so for a brief time, the moon obscures the sun, blocks it from view. In essence, it's kind of like a blackout, and we must focus then on what's directly in front of us. Right? So usually a change or a shock is in store, which might not be welcome, but is necessary for us to move forward. Okay, so when the solar eclipse turns up in a reading here, you can expect swift changes that maybe ends one chapter, it starts a new one, right? You felt probably so that this something would eventually happen, not really having paid attention to the situation, and then you're presented with a shock or a jolt, and then you're reeling over this sudden change. It's this upheaval that takes away what's been familiar and safe to you, so you can embark on new territories or even venture to a strange new terrain. But it'll be daunting. Okay, so these events seem like negatives at first, right? Maybe a divorce or the end to a relationship or being forced to move or even losing your job. Eclipses tend to affect relationships foremost, however, so you may soon see stressors and upsetting changes in the relational supports maybe that you've counted on. But for whatever reason, these might be taken away, at least for the time being or perhaps permanently. So one thing you can count on is that your life will be going through a complete rearrangement of sorts. Okay, the energies are saying that it's necessary to be cruel before being kind. But eclipses are not always about the downside. Instead, you might find yourself having to dive in or to change something, to fix something, to create something that you hadn't really thought of but will work out brilliantly, right? That ends up transforming your life in all the ways that you hope for, beyond your mildest imaginings. Okay, all in all, when the solar eclipse card turns up, it implies that you're being forced to make a decision and to act on it. There will be no stepping away from it. Even though you may not have been consciously aware of just how much certain issues were not working, it's time to look ahead and finally resolve what's held you back. Okay, so now is the time to begin anew and start that new chapter in the book of life. Okay, rapid change. And then as the advice card, we have number 40, which also breaks down to a 4, stability, change, or not change, stability, security, structure, foundation, and the water element, sensing. And I just keep picking up that your senses will be increased this week. Just let matters flow. Okay, in astrology, the element of water represents our emotions and our talents of the imagination, right? Water characterizes the realm of vision, right? Taking us into the depths of feeling, where intuition's more appropriate than acquired wisdom or knowledge. We get kind of carried away on water. We have feelings or floating or being adrift over water, right? And when looking at the shimmering surfaces of water, we might not be able to see the bottom, but we know and sense what is there, right? There's some things that are deep, too obtuse and transitionary to explain, right? Fathoms of moods and insights. Water is the element of the signs Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, so this is your element, Cancers. And also the planets of water are the moon, Pluto, and Neptune. So when the water element presents itself in a spread, you can trust what you feel as the best course to follow. Okay, what you're sensing right now might not be based on any logic. It's just what you're sensing is correct. And right now it's best to go with the flow and and to trust that movement, whatever this movement is, even though some of these changes might be sudden, some might be very gentle or gradual, the water element sometimes indicates a need to withdraw, to fight another day. It's a good time to gather resources and gain strength before moving ahead. Okay, this can at times also indicate trusting too soon, or the passive acceptance of other people's shortcomings when you shouldn't maybe accept them. You have a tendency to want to allow things to pass you by without fighting for them, to let go of something that's rightfully yours. Water is the element of compassion and understanding, but avoid being a doormat. Okay, it is possible people or forces might take advantage of your benign and accepting nature, Cancers. Okay, it's a good time to imagine or to write or to paint or play or create anything creative, since water is the element of imagination, right? It's the ability to quiet our conscious mind and allow yourself to be taken over by an idea or a dream, right? Water is painting and poetry and music. This represents being connected to the flow of all things, right? It's also the ability to keep a secret or to work alone in privacy. It's probably best now not to allow people or circumstances to not pin you down or hem you in, right? Frankly, you now have the ability to flow or drift in or out of any situation the way water is able to move around obstacles very gently and easily. There's a type of surrender here. Maybe it's a surrender to a dream. At present, you might have very little energy, might want to withdraw. And what you're doing in this withdrawal is actually a lot of inner processing, which will take you where you want to go, by the way. Right? There are deeper levels working and developing inside you, but work might not be seen on the outside. Okay, so expect a pause, but also forward motion soon. Okay, look inward. Don't worry about any of the drama that surrounds you. Avoid the commotion, sit still, float, trust your inner wisdom. It's not going to steer you wrong. Okay, and I went way longer than I wanted to on these, but we are going to get some animal spirits out here. Let's just get one for each card. Tell me about Jupiter, please. Tell me about Jupiter, this abundance for my Cancerians. Tell me about Jupiter. For my Cancerians, please. Ooh. We've got the Elephant, Leadership. I love that the elephant came out for this. I'm going to get into this in just a second. One more here. We got the Jaguar and Release for the solar eclipse. Something big is changing. You're releasing something here. And one more for this water element, please. My Cancers, thank you. And the Snake, Creation. On the bottom, we have the Dog, Companionship. All right, so beginning with the Elephant, Leadership, what is that, number 10? 10 represents completions, and also breaks down to a 1, which represents source energy and new beginnings. Okay, we're just going to kind of quickly go through these elements, or these, oh my god, I was going to say these elephants, these animals, because I do want to get some tarot out here as well before we wrap up. there's a time to step forward and lead, and I think that's right now. Okay, be the leader in your own life. If you want something achieved, take lead of yourself. Be the example that others will follow. Okay, don't lead by force, but instead by inspiration. The Hindu god Ganesha was shaped by the earth by the goddess Parvati. And when her husband Shiva returned after a long time from home, the first thing she saw was a handsome young man with Parvati. And then in his anger, he attacked the young man, severing his head. And then Parvati then revealed who Ganesha actually was, and Shiva sent his soldiers to return with the head of any sleeping being that was facing the north. Okay, so an elephant was found, and its head was attached to the body of Ganesha. Also, by the way, I just uploaded my Shakti and my Shiva activations. So if that's something that calls to you, please feel free to check those out. I just uploaded them both within the last couple days. They're beautiful invocations of these divine feminine and divine masculine energies that we all have within us. Okay. So the life of Ganesha was then restored, and Shiva declared that from then on, this elephant-headed young man would always be loved by the community. In his name, when his name was evoked, this joyful blessing would come about prior to the beginning of major undertakings, such as businesses, developments, projects of all kinds, really. Right? So it would be Ganesha who made sure no obstacles would be placed in the way of righteous actions. But it was also he who placed obstacles to encourage people to take different directions. And today, Ganesha is one of the most loved of all the Hindu gods. Everywhere you turn in modern India, there's the joyful elephant-headed deity balancing on one leg, often riding a mouse, pushing away your worries and negativity and leading you towards the best path possible. Elephants are richly represented in mythos, and especially in Africa and Asia. Most tales speak to their wisdom and strength and their ability to guide through difficult circumstances. Okay, and then we've got, what number is this? Number 9. 9 is manifestation. It's also completions. Okay, wrapping something up with the release in the jaguar. So this is exactly what it sounds like. Release what you no longer need. Cancer. Okay, take action to move something from the ideas world into the physical world. Let go of the old and stale and choose renewal. Okay, wash away the negative aspects of the past, surrender it all, and embrace the new. Okay, and then moving on, we've got the creation, because I know we've talked a lot about release already. You already know. Number 43 breaks down to a 7. 7 is a very analytical number. It's also, it's logic, reasoning, analyzing, but it's also a very, very spiritual number. Okay, and the snake is very important throughout mythology and our culture. And it says it's time to shed your skin and try something new. Okay, creation is your birthright, Cancers. You must understand that to remain stagnant means atrophy. So do not fear your own creative flow. Okay, if you have any kind of physical ailments, healing is going to occur. You are capable of big transformation. Okay, if you haven't begun, begin. The Australian Aboriginal culture is the longest continually existing culture on the planet. And so, in turn, the rainbow serpent mythos is one of the oldest creation stories in existence. And the serpent mythos is a rich one with many variants and features in art and oral storytelling that are widespread, around the continent. The mythos always strongly centers on the element of water. Okay? And some believe the rainbow serpent brought water from heaven when the world was created, and others believe that in the beginning, when there was nothing on earth, the rainbow serpent cracked through the crust of the earth and began her journey, waking up all of life. Right? She moved and traveled, stopped and slept. Her rainbow body, the rainbow serpent created gullies and gorges and mountains and valleys and the water lines that joined them all together. Once water appeared, life on earth began to flourish, right? All the animals and reptiles and birds awoke and began their life cycles. So the rainbow serpent created humans and gave the tribe's animal totems. Okay, and each tribe could eat what they wished except for their totem, which meant balance in hunting and nature, that all had food to eat. Right? In reality, this indicated an instruction for a balanced coexistence between tribes and a need for a deep connection and synergy, with the land. And Australia is one of the most environmentally sensitive places on the planet, the lack of water being a big reason for that. The rainbow serpent asks us to recognize the preciousness of water and how we rely upon it for the continuation of life itself. Snakes are one of the most powerful symbolic animals throughout the cultures of the world, right? Some of the most famous mythos featuring the serpents include the ancient Norse, whose Midgard serpent, Jorgenmungar, I think is how you say it, he battles Thor at Ragnarok. And then Nighthawk Naga is the dragon that sits at the base of the world tree. And there's also the Greek Gnostic Ouroboros, the snake that's eating its tail, as a sign of the cycles of life and death, always continuing. And then the representation, of course, of evil and temptation in the Bible, in the story of Adam and Eve, the snake dance of the Hopi people and the snake-headed Medusa of the ancient Greeks. It's this, a very protective, divine animals that were honored, by the ancient Egyptians, and the cobra, especially the Hindus and the Buddhists. With the Naga, snakes are found in mythology through all of it, and it's this story of creation and of wisdom and unawakened magic. Okay, and I feel like the dog is just saying, like, you are not alone. The dog also speaks to companionship, so there could be some relationships that are changing or becoming at this time. Lots of energy of creativity here, and I just wanted to get a few tarot cards out here. Let's see. We got the Three of Swords in reverse, so healing from some kind of heartbreak, making some new plans, perhaps. There is a feeling of somebody kind of like getting away with something here, or I don't know, what is that? But there's victory here. There is victory and recognition. And somebody's confidence, there's a masculine energy of confidence and creativity coming in, creating a new path. What is this Seven of Swords? For my Cancers, what is this Seven of Swords? So this feeling of someone getting away with something. Now remember, we're speaking of swords, which is the mental realm, which could be real or imagined, right? And in this case, I think there's some imagined, okay? Because this is stemming from your own fears, your own insecurities, your own worries, okay? And the Queen of Swords comes out here to bring logic, to crown you with reasoning. Trust your water. Okay, trust your energy at this time, Cancers. You guys are, we are, I should say, gifted with this beautiful energy of flow and of being able to intuit and pick up on subtle matters. And so just make sure you're really leaning into this water element at this time, just allowing yourself to go with the flow. There's something here that feels very familiar. It feels like joy, and it feels like maybe you can even be free to be yourself at this time. Yeah, there is movement forward here, okay, with the King of Pentacles and the King of Wands both out here. These are both masculine energies of poise and confidence, and the King of Pentacles, you know, is familiar in the material realm. He knows how to provide. And the King of Wands is fire, it's source energy. On the bottom of the deck, we got the Wheel of Fortune. Wow. So Cancers, things are definitely going to start moving in a good way, in a way of healing. Make sure that, you know, let me get a couple. What's the tea on this planning? I want to know what you're planning. What is this Two of Wands for my Cancers? Yeah, we got the Queen rising. You're stepping into your power. You're coming up. And that's exactly what it's showing here, right? You're coming up. You're coming up into the spotlight. So don't let your doubts or your fears or your insecurities get the best of you, okay? Continue to rise. Continue to affirm that which you want, okay? All right, I did want to touch on the 5th house just briefly. The 5th house is the house of creativity, okay? What is that? 29 breaks down to an 11. Mastery, right? Awakenings. Every child is an artist. The problem with staying an artist is when you grow up. And Pablo Picasso said that. And this card just says, be happy, okay? Give yourself the gift of happiness. If the zodiac had a fun house, it would be the 5th house, right? Pleasure, creativity, children are all elements of this house. And this is seen throughout all of these, okay? Playing, right, is very much what the 5th house is all about. That's why it's the part of the chart that rules over romance, especially the beginning stages. As children, our imaginations know no bounds. We indulge in creative performances, and then when adults, we dip into this field, we allow our minds to, in our hearts, to roam free and produce masterpieces, okay? When we allow ourselves to be our child self, to be that innocence and joy, and without filters or worrying about what other people think, right? When the 5th house brings romance, we also enter a kind of playfulness, right? It's like a sensual joy that happens inside the playground of adulthood. So when this card turns up, it indicates that you've created, or you're beginning to create, or you will create something to be proud of, something that will bring others joy, okay? Whether it's on a stage or just an area where adults can let down their hair and become children, right? Responsive and joyful and free. You could also expect the completion of a project, or the accomplishment of maybe a significant goal for which there might be a celebration. You put hard work into a project, and now you're going to start to see the results. Okay, so gifts, parties, gatherings, premieres, galas, or even a wedding might figure in. Okay, you could become, involved in like a school setting with children, or mostly young adults. Yeah, so pleasure, laughter, parties, there's something beautiful that's being created. And especially with the Jupiter card out here, The Jupiter card appearing next to the the fifth house and in a spread points to awards and rewards. So yeah, there's definitely something beautiful coming in. And if you're a parent, the fifth house also stands for your children. It also stands for other offspring, such as grandchildren, sometimes even friends of your children. Okay, so it could indicate, something happening with your children. But it's all about finding joy and creativity and self-expression with this promise of a return to childhood. Okay, so take some time to tap into your inner child today. See what you can unveil. All right, let's get you one more card. I just want to get you a sacred geometry activation. We got the third eye chakra, my favorite. The frequency of the third eye chakra is the indigo flower of life. It supports our intuition and our inner knowing, our imagination and our psychic powers. So you can take a picture of that if you'd like, meditate on this geometry. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for hitting that like button. It really does help. Drop into the comments. Let me know you were here. Let me know how this resonated for you. Do make sure you are subscribed. If you would like to book a reading where we can go deeper on this, feel free to reach out and hit the notification bell if you'd like to be notified of upcoming videos. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. I love you guys. Take good care.